Hello everyone, this is Rick, and today we are in the episode 12 of the Gupta Empire series. In this video, we are going to discuss about the revival of Hinduism. Here we are going to learn about how the Gupta leadership helped to encourage the Hindu religion in general, which was almost lost before the Gupta period. So without doing any delay, let's get into details. Revival of Hinduism. Time frame. Hinduism witnessed significant revival during the Gupta Empire 320 to 550 CE, a period known as the Classical Age of India. Chandragupta II, one of the most prominent rulers, Chandragupta II performed Vedic rituals like the Ashvamedha, reinforcing the royal patronage of Hinduism. Role of Brahmins. Brahmins became royal advisors, guiding religious practices and playing a crucial role in re establishing the Brahmanical dominance. Texts revived. Religious texts, particularly the Puranas, were revised during the Gupta period and it became a primary source of Hindu religious knowledge. Impact on temples. Temples dedicated to Hindu deities, especially Vishnu and Shiva, were constructed, symbolizing royal commitment to the religion. Hinduism's prominence. Royal patronage. Gupta rulers like Samudragupta promoted Hinduism, portraying themselves as protectors of Dharma. Buddhism coexist. Though Buddhism was still practiced, Hinduism gradually took precedence as the state religion. Vedic rituals. Rituals such as Ashvamedha, performed by the Gupta kings, showcase their devotion and authority over the land. Brahmanical dominance. Brahmin status grew as their rituals and scriptures were widely recognized, reinforcing the social order. Cultural influence. The era's literature and art were deeply influenced by Hinduism, reflecting the gods and mythological themes from the Mahabharata and Ramayana. Role of Sanskrit. Sanskritization. Sanskrit became the official language of the administration and religion, furthering Hinduism's reach across the empire. Brahmin scholars. Scholars from Brahmin communities played a vital role in developing Sanskrit texts like the Puranas and Dharmashastras. Inscription evidence. Inscriptions in Sanskrit have been found across Gupta territories, showcasing the widespread use of the language. Religious texts. Texts like the Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharat were popularized, shaping Gupta religious and cultural thought. Educational centers. Institutions such as Nalanda taught Hindu philosophies, Sanskrit literature, and religious practices, contributing to the revival. Vishnu worship. Vishnu devotion. Gupta rulers, especially Chandragupta II, referred to themselves as Parama Bhagavatas or supreme devotees of Vishnu. Iconography. Vishnu appeared on Gupta coins, often depicted with his Vahana, which is vehicle, Garuda, a mythical bird symbolizing royal power. Lakshmi's representation. The goddess Lakshmi, Vishnu's consort, appeared on coins as a symbol of prosperity and wealth, highlighting economic stability. Avatars of Vishnu. The Gupta period emphasized Vishnu's incarnations with popular depictions of Matsya and Varaha. Garuda standard. The Vishnu Dhvaja or Garuda standard was used on official insignia, signifying the ruler's divine support and legitimacy. Revival of Brahmanical rituals. Ashvamedha. Gupta rulers, notably Samudragupta, revived the Vedic horse sacrifice known as Ashvamedha to assert their dominance. Religious rituals. Brahmanical rituals, including yajnas, sacrificial ceremonies, were performed to legitimize royal authority. Brahmins' role. Brahmins officiated these ceremonies, reinforcing their elevated status in the Gupta socio religious hierarchy. Textual reference. Descriptions of these rituals can be found in religious texts like the Puranas and Smritis, which were influential during this period. Cultural influence. The performance of such rituals enhanced the Gupta kings' reputations as upholders of dharma and strengthened the ties between royalty and religion. Temple construction and religious art. Architectural revival. Hindu temples, often dedicated to Vishnu and Shiva, were constructed across the Gupta Empire, showcasing religious devotion. Religious iconography. Temples displayed detailed iconography of deities, with Vishnu, Shiva, and their avatars depicted with divine attributes. Cave temples. The Udayagiri caves in Madhya Pradesh and other sites were dedicated to Hindu deities containing religious inscriptions in Sanskrit. Symbolism in art. Many armed depictions of gods and intricate carvings symbolize divine power, marking a unique artistic style during this period. Influence on future architecture. Gupta temple architecture set the foundation for later developments in Indian religious structures. Role of the Bhagavata religion. Parama Bhagavata. Gupta kings like Chandragupta II adopted the title Parama Bhagavata, indicating their supreme devotion to Vishnu. Bhakti movement. Early signs of Bhakti movement began during this period, with personal devotion to Vishnu becoming widespread. Texts. The Bhagavata Purana gained prominence, extolling the greatness of Vishnu and solidifying his role as the supreme being. Temples. Temples dedicated to Vishnu were built, with inscriptions and art reflecting devotion to Vishnu and his avatars. Royal patronage. The royal support of Vishnu worship further solidified his place as the central deity in the Hindu pantheon during the Gupta period. Localized religious practices. Regional variation. With while Vishnu and Shiva were prominent, localized forms of Hinduism flourished, with regional gods also worshipped. Religious artifacts. Gupta coins often depicted symbols of various gods, including Vishnu's Garuda and Shiva's Nandi, reflecting the ruler's religious leanings. Syncretism. Hinduism during this period integrated local customs and deities, creating a fusion of regional and traditional Vedic practices. Local texts. Regional variations of the Puranas emerged, incorporating local myths and deities into the broader Hindu tradition. Patronage of temples. Local rulers, in addition to Gupta kings, supported the construction of temples and religious monuments, fostering regional religious practices. Tolerance. Buddhism and Jainism. Tolerant rulers. Despite their Hindu devotion, Gupta rulers showed religious tolerance towards Buddhism and Jainism. Buddhist influence. Key Buddhist centers like Nalanda continued to receive patronage with Buddhist images appearing in art and in coins. Jain temples. Jainism also thrived with inscriptions and temples built during the Gupta reign, though less prominently than Hinduism. Syncretic practices. In some areas, religious practices overlapped with Buddhist and Jains, incorporating elements of Hindu rituals. Religious art. Artistic depictions of Buddhist and Jain figures were found alongside Hindu deities in temple carvings and coinage. Mahayana Buddhism's decline. Buddhism's status. While early Gupta rulers patronized Buddhism, Hinduism gradually took precedence in state sponsored religious activities. Monastic centers. Mahayana Buddhist centers like Nalanda continued to function, although their influence waned over time. Shift in language. Many Buddhist texts began to be composed in Sanskrit, aligning with Gupta rulers' preference for the language. Interaction with Hinduism. As Hinduism revived, some Mahayana Buddhist ideas were absorbed into Hindu practices and philosophies. Bodhisattva worship. The concept of bodhisattvas in Buddhism was adapted, and some were equated with Hindu gods like Vishnu's avatars. Revival of Shaivism. Shaiva tradition. Shaivism saw a revival during the Gupta period, with Shiva worship becoming popular, especially in southern India. Temple dedications. Temples dedicated to Shiva, featuring the linga, were built, reflecting the growing prominence of Shaivism. Shiva as Mahadeva. Shiva was often referred to as Mahadev, great god, symbolizing his supreme status in the Hindu theology. Rituals and texts. The Shiva Purana and other texts glorified Shiva's role as the destroyer and restorer of the universe. Cultural influence. Worship of Shiva influenced art, literature, and temple architecture, with intricate carvings of the god appearing in numerous temples. Skanda worship and Kartikeya's role. Skanda worship. Skanda, Kartikeya, the god of war and son of Shiva, gained popularity during the Gupta period, especially in South India. Role in warfare. Kartikeya was revered as the commander of the god's army, with many kings invoking his blessings before battles. Coin depictions. Skanda appeared on several Gupta coins, symbolizing his importance as a deity associated with power and protection. Temples. Temples dedicated to Kartikeya were built, and his imagery often featured him riding a peacock, holding a spear, symbolizing victory and strength. Integration with Shaivism. Although primarily associated with war, Kartikeya became an integral part of Shaivite worship, particularly in regions like Tamil Nadu, where his following was strong. Mahabharata and Ramayana. Mahabharata's importance. The Mahabharata gained new prominence during the Gupta period, both as a religious text and a cultural epic. Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, a key section of Mahabharata, emphasized devotion, bhakti, to Vishnu and became central to Hindu philosophy. Cultural influence. The Mahabharata and Ramayana influenced Gupta era literature, theatre, and art, with kings commissioning performances and recitations. Epics as guides. These epics provided moral and ethical guidance, especially in matters of dharma and kingship, aligning with Gupta ideals of governance. Spread of epics. Copies and versions of Mahabharata and Ramayana were produced and spread across the empire, reflecting their importance in public life and education. Conclusion. The lasting impact of Hinduism's revival in the Gupta era. Enduring legacy. The Gupta period's support for Hinduism had a lasting impact on Indian religion, with temples, rituals, and texts shaping the future. Architectural influence. Gupta style temples, with their detailed iconography and distinct structural features, influenced later Hindu temple architecture. Hindu texts. Key religious texts, including the Puranas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, were formalized and continued to influence religious practices. Decline of Buddhism. The state's focus on Hinduism marked the gradual decline of Buddhism in India, especially in political and royal circles. Syncretism and pluralism. Despite Hinduism's dominance, the Gupta period was marked by religious tolerance and the coexistence of multiple religious traditions, a legacy that would shape India's religious landscape. So that was all about the religion of the Guptas and how it helped in the revival of Hinduism in the Indian subcontinent. Hope you have liked the video. In this channel, I make videos in great detail, especially about ancient Indian history. These videos will be helpful to you if you are in general interested on history or if you are appearing for any kind of competitive exams where history is important. So with your support, I hope to grow in future. Thank you for your love and support.